Okay, so in this little tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to apply that stippling technique to your drawing. So you will notice that the first thing that I've done is I've drawn a pencil outline of my chosen object that I've found in my home. So for me, that's a computer mouse. And for you guys, that'll be whatever you should choose. Have a hunt around your home and see what you can find. Once you've got your pencil outline, try and do that lightly. But if I've only got a dark pencil at home, but try and push quite lightly so that your pencil marks aren't too dominant. Once you've got that, you can use a fine liner or a biro or a felt pen if that's all you've got at home. Try and go for something that's got a relatively thin nib at the end. And then the stippling technique, and I'm just going to show you an example here, is literally when you make a mark using a dot on your page. Okay, so it's really just literally about dotting on your page. We are not shading, so we're not colouring like this. We are not doing other forms of mark making techniques. We are focusing and building on our learning from last week using the stippling technique. Now, once you've drawn your outline, you're going to quite simply start to render your object. Now, what you will notice is that you are not shading. Normally I tell you to take care with your shading, spend time on your work. You are not doing that for this, okay? You are using those mark making techniques. So this is what we've been looking at for the last 2 weeks. We are not shading. Don't worry about your blending because that's not a skill that I'm looking for here. I'm looking for how well can you apply a dot, a form of mark. So the dot is our mark this week to render your chosen object. Now, something for you to observe. I pointed this out in my PowerPoint. The closer together you do your dots, the darker the area, so the darker the value that you are creating. If you wanted to create a lighter area, you would do your dots a lot further apart, okay? So there's your difference. So you can still render your work, but by doing your dots further apart, you are implying that that is a lighter area of your object, okay? So I'm focusing on this section because all of these little rectangles that I've drawn represent the darker aspects of my computer mouse. Okay, so I'm going to take my time. I'm going to do my dots really close together for this. I'm going over my pencil outline with dotting. I am not doing this, okay? I'm not drawing any solid lines, okay? No, we are not doing this. We are dotting and only dotting with our pen, okay? So when you get on to using your pen, once you have your pencil outline, don't be tempted to start colouring in or shading. I want the dotting only, okay? Really, really simple. I'm going to start with my darker areas. So I would go along and do all of this. And then in this section of my mouse, I would have some slightly lighter areas. So I would spend some time building up some contrast. So it's not going to, my dots aren't going to be as close together as they were for the little rectangles that I've shown you a little snippet of me rendering. They're going to be a bit further apart because it's not as dark, but not too far apart that it implies that it's really, really, really light, okay? So you can see that I'm starting to build that up. You will also notice that I am taking care with my dotting, okay? I am not getting my pen and trying to stab my page, okay? I'm not going like this as quick as I can. you will damage the nib of your pen. And also, if you rush your marks, you end up with, and I'm going to bring that closer to the screen for you to see, you don't end up with a dot. Okay, you can see that here. You actually end up with almost like a line. So that's not a stippling technique. You want a nice clean dot. So it's important that you actually take your time. Now, I'm still working relatively fast here, but I'm not trying to jab the dots on my page, and I'm making sure that I get that nice circular dot. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to see lots of rushed work with dots that have got lines and actually they no longer look like dots because you've just rushed this topic or this task. So that's going to be your challenge. At the end of this piece of work, any pencil lines that you can still see, you can just rub them out, please. Okay, so the pencil lines are there to start with as a guideline for you. Once you've got all of your work rendered using the stippling technique and you're happy with what you've got, only then at the end of your work could you start to go and rub out the pencil lines. Okay, so once I've completed all of this section, I could actually start to erase this line. Okay, but I'm going to make sure that I've completed all of my work first before I do that. I'm not going to rush this part. Okay, it's only then that you will start to see this come together. With the pencil lines erased, it will start to look more like a finished outcome. Okay, so you would continue to do this for all of your drawing. Okay, observing the darker parts. So if it's darker, your dots are closer together, and then lighter areas, they are further apart. Okay, hopefully that's nice and clear, and I look forward to seeing all of your work coming in.